In this episode, Connor is unsure of how to be disgusted, but he knows he should be. Hank needs a hangover helmet, and we see a familiar face at the sex club, and it's not Gavin. Thank you for coming back from our replay reviews. My name is Leah.
And my name is Kathy.
We are two friends who are here to replay, review, and analyze your favorite video games. And since Kathy has never seen the games before, it helps me view them through her fresh eyes, almost like I'm discovering them again for the first time.
We hope it'll be a similar experience for you.
Alright, so it's November 6th, still the same day that we left off on last episode, 7:51 p.m. Connor meets with Amanda. He wanders around the garden for a while. It's now rainy. She asks him about the deviant and what he's learned, as well as his relationship with Hank.
That was the longest walk ever just to get to Amanda. Like, she could have made things easier by standing closer.
Yeah, she went as far away as possible. And then he brings an umbrella for her and walks with her with it. And then she just walks away from him at the end of the scene. But at the end of their interaction, she again says that they're pressed for time and is worried about the media finding out. So what do you think her top priority is? Is it like saving face for cyberlife? Is it actually stopping the deviants?
I think it's both. It's probably to either get cyberlife to have more power in society, so you have to make sure that you can demonstrate you're controlling things, or the other theory is that she's actually taking down cyberlife from the inside and she needs as much insider information as she can. I do want to also ask, do you think Connor looked nervous, like he's worried that he's doing something wrong?
I was trying to pick options that I feel like he is nervous, but he doesn't know why. And I think he's confused because of the increased software instability. At the end, Connor promises not to let her down, and she gives him a new case. So Connor arrives at Hank's home to find that he's passed out on the kitchen floor. He breaks in and is confronted by Sumo, but thankfully he remembered that his name is Sumo, which puts the dog at ease a bit. And then Connor analyzes an unconscious Hank to discover he's been drinking a lot, and we also see a gun in his hand.
Honestly, Hank looked like he was murdered. Like when I first saw him, like, oh my god, he's dead.
It didn't look good.
Yeah. He's just drunk.
Did you find the slap as satisfying as I did?
I knew you had enjoyed it.
It's just, I don't know what it is. It's just satisfying. I think
It's just
Connor enjoyed it a little bit after all the grief Hank gave him.
Mm-hmm. Did you get to choose to slap him?
Mm-mm. Don't even have to feel bad about it. Scripted slap. So Connor sobers Hank up, much to Hank's discomfort. Connor has a line, and I feel like it might have been sarcasm. He says, "Thank you in advance for your cooperation," when he helps Hank up off the floor. He's just getting so sarcastic with Hank.
Well, I also feel like he's learning from Hank on how to be sarcastic.
Mm-hmm.
We knew it was in him, but I think being around Hank is just giving him that edge of sass.
But eventually a somewhat more coherent Hank asks Connor what he's doing there. Connor explains that there's a new case. He has to tease Hank to get his interest, but this does spur him on to get ready to go. Connor leaves to go get Hank some clothes, and when he returns to the bathroom, Hank's like over the toilet to throw up, obviously. And the way that Connor looks at him is hilarious to me. I'll find it. Watch Connor's face.
He's like concerned, but also disgusted.
He doesn't know what to do. So while waiting for Hank to get ready, Connor snoops around and learns a few more details about him. Most importantly, Hank was playing Russian roulette, and then that he has a son who died in 2035, so around 3 years ago.
I'm curious if Hank's son dying is either caused by red ice and then therefore pushing him to be part of the task force, or if he died for unrelated cause when Hank was on the task force and that's why he just despises his job, or if his son's death was related to androids and that's why he really hates androids. I'm just curious how his son passed.
And then the little smile that Connor does when Hank walks out, all ready to go. Did you notice that?
My note overall was Connor's relationship with Hank has been improving, and I don't know if it's because of what he needs to do for Amanda or if it's just in general his relationship is getting better because they spend so much time together.
Yeah. It's the part that's tricky to me, and it really just depends how you respond when Amanda asks what to do about Hank. But in this playthrough, Connor says that he's going to adapt to Hank's personality. And so then you're wondering, how much of this is Connor and how much of this is Connor adapting to Hank?
But here's the thing, Connor doesn't seem to, at least right now in the scene, do things because it's the right things to do. It seems like he's doing things because he wants to do it for Hank.
Because he says that he needs him to solve the case, but I agree, and the smile especially makes me think that he likes helping him. So yeah, Hank is ready and they head out, and Sumo stays home to watch some basketball. Anything else before scene 2? 8:00 p.m. We're back to Marcus, who leads members of Jericho on a mission to steal parts and blue blood from the CyberLife warehouse. During the robbery, a worker android finds and confronts them, and when a human starts to approach looking for it, Marcus decides to grab it and hide. In doing so, Marcus is seemingly able to convert the android into a deviant. What are your reactions to creating a deviant?
I guess I didn't think much about it. I was just like, oh, okay, you can convert it. And I don't know if it's because he himself is a deviant and has the power of influence to make non-deviants deviants.
I don't really get it, because I don't know if just he has this ability or what. Because we've seen him and Kara have to like break through their code. So there's like work to it a little bit, right? There's the emotional shock. So is he just artificially giving them an emotional shock, or is there another way to be deviant?
I think because Marcus and Kara were on their own, they just needed emotion to break through. But because this guy, the security guard, wasn't on his own, he just didn't have the emotion to trigger his own break through the walls kind of situation. So maybe deviants can spread it to other ones. We just haven't seen any example of anyone else doing it. So I think maybe that's a second way of creating deviants.
And then the group is hesitant when John, the first droid that he converted, wants to go with them. Marcus says that they should all the new converts, should come with them. It feels wrong to convert them and then say that they can't come.
I can see where they're coming from because they want to stick to the plan and they just don't want to take on any risk. But at the same time, though, they are also going to be fighting for the same cause that you are. And it seems a bit cruel to just leave them behind.
As a result of trusting John, he tells them that they can steal a truck, which will have a lot of parts in it. So Marcus takes the risk to steal the truck and succeeds. So they get back to Jericho with all the supplies, and Marcus gives a speech. He says that they're alive, and he intends to make the humans see that.
Marcus wants to see the world burn based on that speech.
Here's where I have issues. And I feel like it kind of takes away from the whole Marcus storyline, because I think a lot of what he says is very, like, you almost wonder if it's AI generated, because it's so kind of cliche. Like when he says, the right to smile and stand tall. I think the humans are okay if you smile. Some of the dialogue is just so, I don't know, it's kind of cringy. And it almost makes me wonder if they're hinting at some of it being AI, like how much of their knowledge is learned versus AI learned, like real world versus artificial intelligence. And it might just be that the writing is not very good.
I don't think the writing was ever that good.
The dialogue's
base-
okay. It's
The-
mostly
yeah.
with Marcus, with Marcus's, and we'll see more examples of it. This is kind of the first one.
I think it's because it's too wanna be like a movie, like a hero saves the day kind of speech.
Yeah. Okay, scene 3. Back to Connor and Hank. It is 8:17 p.m. now. They arrive at the Eden Club, which is an android brothel for humans. And I love the detail of Hank hitting his head getting out of the car. It's so human. So they arrive at the scene, and stupid, dumb Gavin is already there. In the room, we see a dead guy on the bed and a dead, decommissioned android on the floor.
Why is there this kind of club? At least there's both guys and girls, but but still, it's not very necessary to have this kind of murder in this kind of location.
I think there'll be a little bit more later that will make it make more sense.
Okay.
But also, later Connor asks Hank to rent one of the androids. And I think it said it was like was it a 30-minute session or, yeah, for like $30? That doesn't seem that expensive. So think about how many people are coming here for them to be making money. Like, it's gross.
Imagine just mass spreading of AIDS.
Yeah,
or
how do they...
STDs.
Ugh, there's so much... I have so many questions that I don't want the answers to. So Connor investigates the android, and he gets caught this time licking the blood, and Hank gets disgusted at him again.
I just love how Hank is freaking out about it.
It's just too good. And then we also discover that multiple parts in the android are critically damaged. When he investigates the man, we learn his name is Michael Graham, and that there are signs of strangulation. Connor reconstructs the scene to discover he did not die of a heart attack as Gavin thought. He was indeed strangled. They realize that they must be missing information, so they decide that Connor needs to try to read the android's memory. To do so, he has to reactivate her, which leaves them with limited time after she wakes up. When she does awaken, she's very clearly terrified. But Connor is able to get some information out of her. We learn that the man started hitting her, she did not kill him, and that there was another android in the room.
I get kind of mad again in this scene because how is it that androids don't have the right to self-defense? Starting to see it from Marcus's perspective of why they're really fighting for their own rights.
Based off of what we've learned, I think it is a crime to damage androids. I think we see that when Marcus gets jumped.
Oh, yeah.
But I think that they're just not programmed to be violent, even if that includes self-defense.
I totally forgot about when Marcus got jumped. I forgot about that scene. So it is, I guess, the first step in the right direction to have some kind of protection for androids.
Yeah, and I don't know that it's necessarily like it's a law for the android versus it's a law for the owner in a sort of like a property damage kind of way.
Mm-hmm.
Connor thinks that it could still be in the building, so he starts connecting to the memory of multiple androids, tracking down the path of the blue-haired Tracy that left the room. This is like the second time Hank feels like Connor's just bringing him here for the sexy androids. Because when Connor first asked him to rent the android for him, he goes,
For fuck's sake, Connor, we got better things to do.
And then he later starts complaining how it's going to be one of the most expensive investigations because he keeps
yeah.
having to pay for these androids.
But again, only $30. And then when they first arrive, he reads the sign out front that says sexiest androids in town and goes, now I know why you wanted to come here. I just love when he messes with Connor.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, before we find the Tracy, again, we're connecting to all the memory of androids. He connects to one android's memory, And we see a familiar face. So I'm going to show you. Do you recognize him? He's not even perusing. He's rented this android.
Who is that?
I'll show you who it is.
Oh. Oh.
It's the cop that made Not Leto stop attacking Marcus in part 1.
That's why he appreciates androids.
So eventually we follow the path and track down the blue-haired Tracy to a back room. And Connor and Hank get jumped by 2 androids. The confrontation eventually ends in a choice for Connor, shoot or spare the android attacking him. I choose to shoot it, which results in a big decrease in software instability. Reactions.
I kind of wanted you to not shoot them and for Connor to just lose the fight, because I want to see how far we can push Connor into just being software unstable.
Mm-hmm.
I wanted to see him get emotional. But I also noticed that during this entire time, Connor's personality was really different than what he normally is. He was like rushed and he was panicking, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
I get he was in a fight, but it also didn't seem like the cool, calm, collected Connor that we've seen throughout this game so far.
I think it's what you were talking about when he was with Amanda. He's nervous. He knows that time is running out. And if he doesn't do his job, there is a good chance that he will be replaced. So I made this choice for a variety of reasons. First one is, I think in this moment, after just talking to Amanda, Connor is refocused in kind of a more frantic way of, I need to accomplish my mission. Also because I wanted something to balance out saving Hank, because I feel like Connor's still conflicted, like we've been discussing. And I also think the rest of the way that the scene plays out has an effect on Connor that I like. So I guess let's finish out this scene. That the 2 androids are seemingly in love, and the surviving one does not want to live without the destroyed one. And she uses Connor's gun to shoot herself. And after seeing this, there is a big decrease in Hank and Connor's relationship. And there was a decrease in software instability when he chose to shoot her as well.
If the situations were reversed where Hank was the one who was doing the fighting, do you think Hank would have shot the androids? Because in this situation, Hank almost feels bad for the androids and looks like he wants them to just for them to just leave them alone. Is that the feeling you got while watching it?
I think there's a lot of complicated things going on here. Number one, I don't think that this is entirely on Connor, because they did jump them. They were being very aggressive. So you could even argue self-defense in this instance. They were trying to escape. Hank says, they're getting away. Don't let them get away. So I don't think Hank wants them to go free, more because of his job. It's more the reaction of the living android after the first one is destroyed that has an effect on both Hank and Connor. Connor is really affected by this whole scene.
Makes sense if his software instability actually went up, because he looked horrified at what just happened. So I actually was surprised to see it going down instead of going up, and I don't really understand why it would not go up.
I think it made sense for it to go down initially when he neutralized the one, but after seeing the suicide, I feel like it should have went back up a little bit.
If androids could have PTSD, I think he would have some PTSD.
Yeah. Poor Connor. Moving on. It's now November 7th, 1:02 a.m. Kara, Luther, and Alice are headed towards the Canadian border. In the car, Kara tunes into the news to hear a report about her, and we see that public opinion takes another dip. Soon their car breaks down, and they have to seek shelter nearby at an abandoned pirate-themed amusement park.
This entire location just feels way too creepy.
It's really uncomfortable. Like the pirate theme. How do you have a pirate-themed amusement park in Michigan?
Of all places in Michigan.
It's just, I don't know, it doesn't sit right. Eventually, Kara is putting Alice to bed, which, by the way, it's freezing out. I bet Alice is feeling better about having that coat they stole.
I wrote that too.
So she puts Alice to bed, and she wants Kara to tell her a bedtime story. And she starts telling their story. And I like that she says that they decided to run away together and conveniently leaves out the part about killing Todd.
I mean, I would leave that part out too if I was telling a story.
Yeah.
Well, Alice also just pretty much asked Kara about, like, oh, as long as we're together, right? And I'm pretty sure Connor's about to destroy Alice's dream about staying together with Kara.
Gonna kidnap Alice to draw Kara in.
Let
That would be good.
Imagine letting Alice watch him shoot Kara.
It's not the first time you've brought this up.
I forgot about it. It's very likely possibility.
You're
in this
very
game.
worried about this happening.
I am. I'm stressed.
After putting Alice to bed, Kara and Luther talk. She asks him about RA9, and he says,
RA9 was the first of us to awaken. One day he will rise up and lead our people and set us all free.
I guess this is a dumb question, so don't make fun of me. Does that mean they're all part of, like, RE9's descendants? I guess because of the way evolution works for our androids, like they take the model and then keep upgrading it. Maybe there's a fault. There's, like, I guess, is there a component of RE9 that stays with androids up until, like, generation after generation of making them?
I don't know. The question that we need answered is, when did RA9 awaken? Because I don't know. It seems like any model can pretty much become deviant from what we've seen. I don't know if that answers your question.
Yeah. I guess, also, how did they all know about RE9?
Right. It's a good question. To me, and we'll talk about it later, to me it seems like something that was intentionally put in their code. Continuing in their conversation, Luther asks Kara if she's ever noticed anything about Alice. Kara says she's not sure what he means, but then they're interrupted by banging on the doors before we're able to hear any more of what Luther was going to say. A horde of androids bust in. They're coming in real hot. But it turns out they just want Alice to ride the carousel.
It's really creepy.
It's a very aggressive invitation.
The Jerry has that clown energy, like the circus clown type. It
Uncomfortable.
makes me uncomfortable. Oh.
I also don't like how every single android in this amusement park is the same android.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. They got a bulk discount, maybe. And then Kara says of Alice riding the carousel, that's the first time I've seen her smile.
She hasn't had a reason to smile with a father like that.
Mm-hmm. I bet she wouldn't be smiling as much if she was freezing without that coat, though. Anything before scene 5?
Mm-mm.
Alright. November 7th, 1:19 a.m. Connor is in Hank's car, likely waiting for Hank, who is sitting in the park in front of him. And he eventually decides to get out to go join him. When he walks up, Hank says, "Nice view, huh? I used to come here a lot before." And then Connor says, "Before what?" And Hank says, "Before nothing."
I think it's before his son died, obviously.
Yeah. Connor then asks him why he's so determined to kill himself. And he responds,
Some things I just can't forget. Whatever I do, they're always there, eating away at me. I don't have the guts to pull the trigger, so I kill myself a little every day. That's probably difficult for you to understand, huh, Connor? Nothing very rational about it.
I like the way he ends that quote with saying that there's nothing rational about it.
I think it's also an opportunity for Hank to continue to push Connor to have some more emotions. I'm starting to feel like Hank wants Connor to have some more empathy, especially after the whole shooting of the 2 androids from the club.
Mm-hmm. That seems to have affected him a bit, and something you said just made me wonder if, because, I mean, earlier you mentioned where's the mother of his child, and I'm wondering if Hank's just kind of been alone since the death of his son. Mm-hmm. Connor's, like, the closest relationship he has right now other than Sumo. So I think he's maybe even kind of, like you said, trying to get him to have more empathy because he might want someone just to talk to.
I'm kind of liking Hank a lot more than before.
Yeah, he's opening up more. He's being more vulnerable, starting to trust Connor more. Connor changes the topic to the investigation. He says that they're making no progress and none of the deviants have anything in common. All they have to go on is the obsession with the RA9 myth, something they invented that wasn't part of their original program, he says. Does this go back to, can they create their own code, or is it a virus?
Feels like a virus.
Connor can tell that Hank isn't quite with it, and Hank goes on to talk about the two androids from the Eden Club saying they just wanted to be together. And Connor responds they didn't want anything, they're deviants. End of story. Hank then says, what about you, Connor? You look human, you sound human, but what are you really? And this is when I choose the defensive option, which is, you know exactly what I am. In any case, I don't see how that's relevant to the investigation. And I had a note in here about why I chose this option, because I figured you'd ask me. And I think Connor would be defensive because he's confused at this point. And I think that he's scared that he's confused. He's starting to realize but not wanting to admit that he's getting closer to deviancy.
It makes sense. You totally knew I was going to ask that question, and now that I hear about it, and I think it tracks with the conversation that he had with Amanda in the beginning.
Mm-hmm. It does. Hank asks, did you feel anything when that girl killed herself, Connor? And then to your point in the last part, you noted how Hank was saying it instead of she, but now he's saying that girl, so...
But Connor is saying it.
Mm-hmm.
So that's the thing, is they kind of switched. I think Hank started going back to his more humane side, while Connor is trying to really distance himself.
The opening of this game, it seems more cut and dry, like that this deviant is just dangerous. They didn't really do anything to him. But now we're seeing that these androids were assaulted. And so they're more of like the innocent party in this situation, but they still ended up destroyed. So I think that's kind of what both of them are now seeing as deviants don't automatically equal bad, murderous. You know, they have reasons.
And it also goes from Connor wanting to help the deviants that we see in the earlier scenes to being okay with killing them, even though it's probably self-defense, but still, he's okay with killing them instead of giving them another option.
In response to Hank's question of, did you feel anything when that girl killed herself? I choose the disturbed option, which is, I was just executing instructions. I did what I had to do. And then this results in a big spike in software instability, which is why I like the option of killing them, because now I feel like in this scene, it's Connor having to reconcile with what he did and how he feels about it.
Well, it tracks because most of us were in denial in that first stage, so maybe that's what it was, that he's finally going through the process and he realizes that he screwed up. Well, not necessarily screw up, but...
that it wasn't as black and white as it seemed, maybe. But then things get a little heated. Hank pulls a gun on Connor and says, but are you afraid to die, Connor? And he responds, I would certainly find it regrettable to be interrupted before I can finish this investigation. Another spike in instability. So the way he words this response is so good, because we see that he doesn't want to die, but he hides that under the guise of, I need to finish my mission.
I was thinking that because it's a lie, that's why his software instability is going up, because androids, I'm assuming, aren't supposed to lie, or they're not programmed to do so, and pretty much he just lied.
Or he doesn't even know what the truth is. Like, he knows that it would be regrettable, but he doesn't really know why, and the only logical reason he can find is because he has to finish the investigation. He then asks Connor, how do I know you're not a deviant? And Connor says, I self-test regularly. I know what I am and what I am not. And then Hank leaves to go get drunk, leaving a conflicted and confused Connor behind. Any thoughts? Well, first, before you give me your thoughts, I'm not positive, but I'm pretty sure in my original playthrough, Hank actually shot Connor.
Really?
I am pretty sure, yeah.
Can we watch that version during our summary episode or something?
We will.
Yeah. I feel like because Hank left, he almost feels like he's giving up on trying to make Connor see the light of the fact that him shooting those two girls is not okay. And Hank just realizes that Connor's lying to himself and he's not going to push him anymore.
I think he can see that Connor is confused and has regret, but he's also trying to let Connor in.
Mm-hmm.
And I think maybe even that makes him uncomfortable when he realizes that, hey, I kind of like talking to Connor.
Yeah, especially his persona he put up was so anti-android.
Now, 9:24 a.m., Marcus leads the members of Jericho in hijacking a news broadcast to make an announcement. First thing we need to talk about are his clothes in this scene. I want people to dress like this all the time.
It does look like a three-piece suit with the trench jacket over
And
it.
the pants are cool, how they like cut in the middle at the shoe. It's just cool. Whoever designed the clothes in this game did a great job.
My first note was the front desk. Do you think that he converted her, or was it a temporary lapse in her memory that he needs to get in? Is like, I need your help kind of situation. I don't know if he fully converts her.
Yeah, that's a good question, because based on the last time we saw him do this with the 4 androids at the warehouse, I feel like he fully converts them, but we don't have proof of that, especially in this instance. For some reason, something feels a little bit wrong about him just walking up to any android and converting them, because it's kind of putting them at risk. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. But he needs to get his mission accomplished, and that means sacrificing some of these people, these androids' happiness.
Something about it doesn't sit quite right with me, but I'm not sure what. Marcus and North both swing into this room from outside, and he goes, "You okay?" North's response is, "Why wouldn't I be?" I don't know why, but her response just irritates me. He's just being nice.
I thought that she had a crush on Marcus just because of the way she was acting during when they're breaking into cybersecurity's base. So
Yeah.
I was a bit taken aback because I totally thought that, oh, she might start flirting with him, but she doesn't. And so I'm with you.
Speaking of North, though, they're deciding what to do about the 2 front desk people at the news broadcast room. And North is just like, let's just kill him. Let's just kill him.
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, no, we're not doing that. So I select ruse. And it does not go well because, I don't know, I feel like a ruse does not equal drawing a gun. And it was like the only option was to draw a gun, so I just stood there.
I think the game really encourages you to shoot them.
It does, and I didn't want to. I was like, I'm sure that this group of 4 androids can figure out a way to distract these people. And I thought a ruse would be a ruse, not a threat. But apparently I was wrong, and so then Simon gets shot. But he seems okay, for the time being.
For now.
They then break into the broadcast room and give their list of demands. And then when Marcus takes off his face, his skin, it bothers me so much that like the water lines on his eyes are still skin.
I didn't catch that, but I can see why it would bother you.
It irritates me. Okay, I think you had notes on his speech.
Oh, my notes were more just like, good job, Leah, for choosing the right things, because it was pretty close. Like, the things that I would choose were the ones that you chose.
Yeah.
And it's great. It is still very generic in terms of what you would expect from any movie character. But still, good job.
I have another note about North, but I don't know what she says. Oh, that's because she wants Simon. She wants Simon to just die. So they're pretty quickly raided, so they run to the roof, and their plan is to jump off with parachutes, but Simon's too injured to go on.
Which I don't agree. He does not look to be that injured.
And do you need legs to hang in the air? You just need arms, right? To operate a parachute.
Right?
I feel like they could have just put his parachute on, thrown him over the ledge.
Or they could have just piggybacked, give him a piggyback ride, because he can have his arms and his legs can move to just cling on to the waist of whoever he's jumping off the building with.
I decide to leave him after it's clear that Simon doesn't want to die. Initially, I was like, sure, let's kill him. They're gonna, get into his memory. But we've seen Connor be able to access memory of destroyed androids at other points, so, we'll let him live. Which I'm kind of realizing this doesn't make sense, because I'll just spoil it a little bit. In the next scene, you have to choose between either, as Connor, going to the roof to investigate or going to the break room to analyze the droids. If you go to the roof, we find out that Simon has moved. So I guess he just, army crawled his way?
Then he could crawl himself over the edge.
You didn't army crawl fast enough to get away. You didn't army crawl any faster to get over here than you could have over there. So either way, if a human came through that door, you're caught. I think we found a plot hole.
Are plot holes really surprising for a David Cage game?
No. They leave Simon, and they jump off the roof, and we see lots of news broadcasts in the wake of this event, and this results in a big increase in public opinion. So, anything else on scene 6 for you?
No.
Okay. Moving on to the final scene. It's November 8th at 4:06 p.m. We're back to Amanda. She says, "I thought you might enjoy a little cruise," as she's sitting in a rowboat. But she then proceeds to make Connor row. So, I think you thought you might enjoy a little cruise, not Connor. She says to Connor,
"You seem lost, Connor. Lost and perturbed."
Perturbed? No. No, of course not. Why would I be perturbed?
which results in a spike in software instability.
It's because Connor's in a bit of a dilemma where he doesn't know how much to share with Amanda when he may have been programmed to be pretty transparent with her. Mm-hmm. So because of that, that's what pushes his software instability up.
I think so too. I think he's not being honest with Amanda for the first time, and I think she might even kind of notice because she kind of does a little like squint at him. And then she says, "If your investigation doesn't make progress soon, I might have to replace you, Connor." And he goes, "I know I will succeed. All I need is time." So he ends it on a confident note, which I felt like was the right thing to do. Kind of, you know, tamper Amanda a little bit. And then we cut to Connor and Hank in the elevator, and Connor's flipping his coin. And then Hank took it. He stole Connor's coin.
Again, the annoyed dad vibes.
So rude. Connor. So they arrive at the news station to investigate the android heist, I guess. The FBI is here, and this guy seems like a butthead. He says to Hank,
"You sure you want an android hanging around after everything that happened?"
Definitely the death of his child may be related to an android issue.
It's starting to seem that way. Connor starts investigating and watches the broadcast video. Hank says, "Think that's RA9?" And Connor responds, "Deviants say RA9 will set them free. This android seems to have that objective." Any thoughts on Marcus being RA9?
I feel like in this part, RE9 might not even be a thing. It might be like a process that it's the conversion into being a deviant that they go to that's RE9, and maybe that's the trigger to get more people to be deviants. Mm-hmm. So I'm not even convinced RE9 is a person, a place, or a thing right now.
We also see a reflection in Marcus's pupil, which teaches Connor that he had accomplices. And then we scan, I think, the serial number, and we see that Marcus is an RK200 prototype, and that he was a gift from Elijah Kamsky to Carl Manfred. Hank says, anything else I should know? Because Connor doesn't reveal this part about the prototype and Marcus being a gift. And Connor says no, but he kind of hesitates and looks a little weirded out. Like, Connor, what? What's going on? Do you think he's freaked out because he's also an RK model?
I think so. I think he's having the identity crisis that's not just, am I a deviant or am I an android that does great work? It's that, can I become a deviant because I share so many similar attributes as these other ones?
His reaction right there just weirds me out. Like, something's up with him. And then while continuing to investigate around the station, Connor is interrupted when a cop asks if he remembers him. Turns out that he is the cop whose life Connor saved at the start of the game. And the cop says, I could have died on that terrace, but you saved my life. I never thought I'd say this to an android, but thank you. And then Connor's slight smile and nod is great.
Connor appreciates being an android more because he's only been dealing with androids that aren't doing their best work and they aren't doing what they're meant to do. So for him to have done what he was supposed to do and then getting thanked for it and seeing that there's still good people out there who appreciate androids, I think it's going to give him like a warm hug kind of feeling.
Yeah. Connor then interrogates 3 identical station androids, one of which they know is a deviant because they helped the Jericho people. Connor is able to narrow down to the correct one, which is pretty obvious. He's really eyeballing Connor. And then this deviant attacks Connor and makes a run for it. Number 1, why is there a giant knife in the break room? Number 2, of everything that we've seen so far, everything that Connor's gone up against, this is the just like lamest android to take Connor down. Like, he's just standing here. How does Connor let him get the jump on him?
You would think Connor would be a better fighter since everything that has happened in this game.
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe the fact that he let him get the jump on him is sort of an indication that he's becoming more deviant and he's less perfect.
Yeah.
But he is able to recover and runs after the deviant, making a split-second decision to take a cop's gun and shoot it, which apparently saves Hank's life.
Did you know that it's going to help further your relationship with Hank?
No, honestly, my first playthrough for this recording, which is the first time I've played the game in years, that was just the first one I picked. And I was like, that's kind of a cool clip. It's a cool scene. So I just decided to do it again. And then at the end of the scene, we see that Simon is alive and undisturbed and hiding with his legs that apparently don't work.
Yeah.
Well, anything else for part 3?
That's it for me.
All right.
I'll count us off. Audacity on 1, 3, 2, 1.
Thank you for listening, and don't forget to send in any questions, comments, or game suggestions. You can find all our contact info on our website, replayreviewspod.com, or contact us directly through our site.
Did we completely miss something? Are we way off the mark? Or you just want us to take a deeper look at anything from the game? We'll tackle any topics you all want to hear in our season wrap-up episode.
We also have a Reddit where we discuss anything we're curious about. Go take a look and let us know what you're thinking. Our theme music is Condemned by Eggy Toast. They'll play you out, and we'll be back next week.